Hello, my name is D to the B, and I have an interesting video for you today. So, a year ago, I was thinking about terrible Hollywood celebrities. Hollywood celebrities that have said either stupid things or done things that are extremely controversial that either A, hurt their brand extremely, or B, they were just not good people to begin with. Which, unfortunately, Hollywood is full of that right now, where it's full of people that used to be well praised but have lost respect over the years by general audiences, or even just people like me in geek culture. So, I want to make a list of the top 10 worst Hollywood celebrities in my opinion. Let's get started. Number 10, I would have to say, is Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin is one of those figures that everyone lost respect in because a lot of people didn't hate Alec Baldwin when he was fresh out of Hollywood. I'll say, from what I saw, Alec Baldwin seemed pretty cool. He was very funny. But of course, over the years, he became one of Hollywood's egotistic actors, and his career was especially hurt after the incident of Rust, a Old West movie that he was a producer of, which, if people don't know the context, I'm going to explain it. If you do know the context, skip to this time. So basically what happened in the set of Rust, one of the scenes they filmed, they thought they had like a prop gun for the movie, or the gun was empty, but Alec Baldwin ended up shooting one of the producers of the movie, or one of the behind the scenes people, and it became a whole thing for a while. And I still think that people are still pretty mad about that, and they should be. And the thing is, like, I can understand if you made a simple mistake and you took accountability, as he should have. But no, he didn't, because the interview he did after that, where he's saying that this person was his friend, it is so obvious that he is acting. You can tell when Alec Baldwin is acting and not acting. So, yeah, that did not paint a very good image for Alec Baldwin. And yeah, he's not looked very well nowadays. But anyway, let's get to number 9. Kathleen Kennedy. Now, I expect people to go like, wait, why isn't she on top of the list? Why isn't she like number 1? Well, unfortunately, there are people that are worse than Kathleen Kennedy, surprisingly. But that doesn't mean Kathleen Kennedy is a saint. Kathleen Kennedy used to be a friend of both Spielberg and George Lucas. The day that George signed Star Wars over to Disney, he assigned Kathleen Kennedy as his successor, and she promised to keep everything that George had established to the way he set it up without messing anything up. And guess what? She didn't. She completely screwed over the Star Wars franchise. Now, I could see all the crazy feminists getting mad, but let me go on further explaining why she was a terrible leader to begin with. First of all, she was in charge with the future of Star Wars. She did a lot of stupid things, not only giving the sequel trilogy to two of the worst directors in Hollywood. She also did a bunch of stupid things like canceling projects, canceling the expanded universe, shutting down LucasArts. She did a lot of stupid things. And, of course, she shoved political propaganda into her films. And the longer she stayed as president, the worse the brand of Star Wars got worse. And other brands owned by Lucasfilm, such as Indiana Jones recently with its recent film, The Dial of Destiny. The franchise known as Willow, a film I've never seen, was ruined because of a Disney Plus series that she was involved in, which ended up getting canceled and removed from Disney Plus completely. You can't even watch the show anymore. That's how bad the Willow series was. And I can't even watch it because, again, they removed it from Disney Plus. So let's say if I ever watched Willow and I wanted to see how bad they messed up the franchise, I really can't. Which means if you're just going to remove it anyway, because of backlash, you shouldn't have made it in the first place. And she's just constantly been bashing the fans for criticizing her, even though the fans aren't criticizing her because they're sexist. They're criticizing her because she's done a terrible job. She broke her promise to George Lucas, and she deserves to lose her job. Now, there are a bunch of rumors, and I'm glad I'm making this video now, that apparently she's leaving at the end of the year. I do not believe this 1 second. Kathleen Kennedy, Will Smith. Now, don't get me wrong. I used to love Will Smith. I think a lot of people did. Will Smith was many people's childhoods. Which, for me, the movies that I grew up with Will Smith, one was Shark Tale. Yes, I did watch that movie. Another was the Men in Black franchise. And apparently, looking at Google, he was apparently in Suicide Squad as Deadshot. I forgot he was in this movie. It's been that long since I've seen it. But I will say one of the worst films that I saw him in was definitely Aladdin 2019. Yeah, that movie was awful. You tried, Will Smith, but they should have left that film alone. But that is not the reason we all hate Will Smith. We all hate Will Smith because of the Oscars. Back in the year of 2022, Will Smith made the worst decision of his career, and that was smacking Chris Rock at the Oscars. So for context, Chris Rock had made a joke about Will Smith's wife, which of course Will Smith was not pleased by that and ended up walking onto the stage as Chris Rock and smacks Chris Rock and then proceeds to shout to keep his wife's name out of his mouth. Like, it was a whole thing. Like, I think back in the day, people were like, man, Will Smith seems like a cool guy. But now seeing stuff like this, it just kind of makes people realize he's just another establishment Hollywood celebrity that thinks very highly of himself and looks down on others. Will Smith was cool back in the day, but he's not anymore. And it sucks because I liked the stuff that I've seen Will Smith in. But, of course, when you become a Hollywood celebrity and stay there for a long time, you kind of build an ego and think that you still have it even though you really don't. And it is a shame that he did that. But anyway, let's move on to number 8 of this list. Charmaine Bachanoy. Oh my gosh, this person. I cannot believe this person. And yes, this video was written when that whole drama with the Ray movie took place. Like, the Ray movie as a whole, nobody cares. Like, nobody loves Ray except for shills. Let's not lie to ourselves. Because Ray is just a very bland character. Which, of course, Kathleen Kennedy decided to make a Ray movie. Whatever, I'm not watching it. But then, the director of the film has a lot of issues. First of all, what's wrong with the director of this film is she has not had the experience of making a movie. She's had experience with filming documentaries. I'm not kidding. Like, if you go into her wiki, you will find that she has mostly made documentaries. She has not made a single film in there. Now, people might go like, oh, what's wrong with that? The problem is, documentaries are very different from films. Like, films, you're telling like
Make
a
men
story.
uncomfortable.
Documentaries,
I
you're like
enjoy making
seeing
men
the
uncomfortable.
stuff take place in history or nature or whatever, and there's the narrator. The movie, for example, is a person acting as a different character, and a story involving that character is taking place. So, yeah, and especially since the shots of documentaries and films are extremely different from each other. So, yeah, that sounds like a smart idea. Bring a director of a complete different filming genre to direct a movie, especially a Star Wars movie. Yeah, that's genius, guys. Nice going. And then also, I think the reason people don't like her a lot, and I especially don't like her either, was the quote saying, I like to make men feel uncomfortable. Which, if you've seen my No One Cares About the Rey movie video, I especially got pissed off at this quote because I am so sick of these cringy, upbeat feminists. I am so done with them. They are unbelievably evil because if I said I like to make women feel uncomfortable, Twitter mob would freaking get me. They would kidnap me like a gang. I would go in the trunk. But when a woman says it to men, like, make men feel uncomfortable, oh yeah, that's completely fine. Because men are just evil, toxic, racist bigots. They deserve it. Which is honestly ridiculous that that's the reasoning. Like, no one has been racist or sexist or homophobic in forever. Like, this whole modern racist, sexist, and homophobic thing is complete nonsense. And it's just a way for people to dodge criticism for obviously stupid choices, but since they're diverse or anything like that, or on the side that supports diversity, they have a higher viewpoint and think they're better than you. I hate these people with a burning passion. It's hypocritical, and no wonder these people are losing respect from people like you and me because they deserve it. They think that we're dirt under their boot, and we will continue to buy their garbage products, but most of us won't. There will be a few who will because they're idiots, but most of us are done supporting the Hollywood system at the state it's in. Which it's sad to see the possibility of theaters dying and movies dying in general, but honestly, with these people in charge, we might have to. But anyway, let's move on to number 5. Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill is one of those actors who just proves themselves over and over again that he is out of touch. I'm guessing at some point Mark Hamill was a really nice guy, but of course, whatever happened in Hollywood after Star Wars, he is just insufferable. Now, Mark Hamill is pretty well known for Luke Skywalker and the Joker, but that doesn't excuse him from how bad of a person he is. Originally, I sympathized with Mark Hamill because of him being the only one calling out The Last Jedi in the cast of the movie. Here's some clips of him disagreeing or making his point clear about The Last Jedi.
I said, I love everybody's part except mine. And on this one, it was similar in the sense that I said to Ryan, I'm so surprised how you see Luke from when we last saw Luke in the end of Return of the Jedi to when we meet him now in The Last Jedi. Who is this guy?
Is there anything that you want us to know going into The Last Jedi? Anything you want to tell the audience or the world about this one in comparison to the other ones?
It's the longest one. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was before he started to open his mouth. After a year, I would say, after the events of The Last Jedi, or maybe even 2, he kind of began to reveal himself for who he truly is. Of course, he supported the vision before Rian Johnson came in of Kathleen Kennedy. Granted, he wasn't too thrilled about his role in The Force Awakens, but he was fully on board with the Rise of Skywalker. And also, he has extreme Trump derangement syndrome. Now, you can feel however you want about Donald Trump. That is fine, I don't care. But I feel like we shouldn't be hearing politics from a lot of Hollywood actors and actresses because they are so privileged and they usually don't know what they're talking about. They're usually just spreading points, and also they spread these points because these policies that are pushed out don't really affect them because they're pretty rich. They're like some of the richest people in the universe besides politicians. And it just shows that Mark Hamill is someone who is willing to divide, like, at any point. Like, if it was him just simply hating Trump, then that's fine. But he took it too far a lot. There are some great examples for this. The first great example was, I think it was one of Trump's grandchildren was wearing a Luke Skywalker outfit, and Luke was like, "You do not deserve to wear that." Then there was another incident. Of course, there's no evidence to it because Mark Hamill deleted the tweet. He also posted nudes of Trump's current wife, which was not cool, and he got so much backlash he ended up taking down the tweet. And he would just not shut up about Trump. Like, we get it, man. You don't like the guy. You have the same typical opinion as every Hollywood executive, except for like a small few. Just get over it, especially since the guy is back in office. Like, just move on. And also, getting politics out of the way, Mark Hamill has proved himself to be a terrible person over and over again. One of his misdeeds, or one of his ego trips, was his autograph sign. Like, how much to get an autograph? I'm going to show you a picture. I know I've shown this image before on my channel, but this is ridiculous. Like, who would pay this? Like, no one could afford that, especially in the economic state we are in right now with inflation. Like, it is ridiculous that anyone would push this high for a celebrity. Now, as an actor, he is really good. I like a lot of Mark Hamill's roles, but unfortunately, as a person, he is just not too good of a person, and he comes off as unbearable, and it sucks, because I grew up with a lot of stuff where Mark Hamill participated in. Even when I started watching Invincible, I just remember getting annoyed with his voice. And it was nothing wrong with the character. It was just, I'm so sick of Mark Hamill. But that is my opinion on Mark Hamill. Once a legend, kind of fell off. And honestly, a lot of people have been asking for the future of Star Wars for him to be replaced. And I can't blame them. He is just became that unbearable, even though he is a legacy actor. But anyway, let's move on. Amber Heard. Yes, we all know where this is going. Amber Heard, for a lot of people, wasn't a bad person. Personally, I liked Amber Heard in the first Aquaman movie. I thought she was pretty good as Mera. But, of course, then the Johnny Depp and Amber situation happened, where she accused Johnny Depp for harassing her, where it turns out that she was the one who was actually harassing and abusing Johnny Depp, and also pooped on their bed. No, I'm not even kidding. She actually did this. And she is just an insufferable person who tried to use the woman card to make herself look like the good guy and that we should sympathize with her, even though she was the true problem all along, and it ended up hurting Johnny Depp's career. Like, no one will take Johnny Depp back in Hollywood. It is awful. Like, they booted him out of Pirates of the Caribbean, for example. I'm pretty sure they're making a 6th movie, and he is not even going to be in it. Even though the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise is his franchise. He is the face of that franchise. And they dare continue the franchise without him or reboot it. I honestly can't remember if it's a Pirates 6 or if it's a reboot. I really can't remember. But yeah, she is a terrible person. And it ruined a lot of people's opinions on her. It even kind of hurt Aquaman 2 as well. A lot of people were demanding reshoots of the movie where she is completely out of the film and somebody took her place as Mera in Aquaman 2. And I was one of these people. Now, I usually don't believe in cancel culture, but when you're promoting cancel culture and trying to ruin people's lives, I'm sorry, you honestly kind of deserve it. Like, if Johnny Depp's career is ruined, so should Amber Heard's. That is how I view it. I know it's going to seem harsh to all the Hollywood defenders, but it's the truth. Like, it is not cool that she did that. And it sucks that she barely paid any consequences. I think all she had to do was give Johnny Depp money because she lost the case, which I think included her losing her house. I really can't remember. She should honestly never get a role again from how evil this woman is. But that is just my opinion. Bob Iger. Bob Iger has been a terrible leader for Disney. Bob Iger is the reason Disney is in the state that it is. Now, I could see someone going like, he doesn't have control of what each company he does differently. And also, his stuff has been great, you sexist, homophobic, and yada, yada, yada. I don't want to hear it. Shut up. Because it is his fault. Because at any time, he could turn down people like Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige for messing up their brands. But he chooses not to. He approves it. He is a higher up. He is the CEO of frickin' Disney. He could cancel any project or any of that because of his higher authority. But he chooses not to because he's a really bad leader and also a douchebag. Also, in his book that he published, it mentions how George Lucas felt betrayed once Bob Iger revealed that they wouldn't be going with George Lucas's vision. And he tries to justify himself for these terrible things that he's done, especially since him and Lucas were friends for a while. A lot of people in Lucasfilm, mostly Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger, even though I know he's the Disney CEO, were great friends. George Lucas paid lots of good respect into Disney because he loved what Disney was doing. Knowing that they are pushing the limits of films, but then they pursue to mess up George's vision and his creations for the sake of diversity and woman power. And Bob Iger, honestly, is a bad person. Like, I remember when he was considering running for president, which after his whole failures that he decided not to, and also quit being the CEO of Disney, where Bob Chapek took control, but then was thrown out to bring Bob Iger back, which was a waste of time. He might as well have just stayed CEO. The guy is an absolute jerk, and he deserves to be on this list. Rian Johnson. I think that Rian deserves to be four of the list. Rian Johnson has done so much. Obviously, people will know him for films like, of course, the film Looper and Knives Out, and his most successful role, depend on who you ask, Star Wars The Last Jedi, which is not a good film. And of course, if it just ended with him making a bad film, that's fine. Bad films happen. Like, every franchise has had a bad film at one point, or twice, or multiple times. But Rian Johnson's actions during the whole Last Jedi division did not go well, especially since he harassed fans and basically called them names on Twitter. Like, this guy is so unbelievably childish. Like, he couldn't take the fact that nobody except for shills liked his movie. If you take a random poll, don't you do a YouTube one, because then the YouTube one's going to be extremely biased depending on who the channel asks. Let's just say you do a random poll on like Twitter or something like that. Most people are most likely going to say The Last Jedi is terrible, because The Last Jedi did way too much damage to the Star Wars lore, and because of Rian Johnson, Star Wars is partially in the state that it is because of him. Like, it is not forgivable what he did. Like, if you owned up to your mistakes, or say that I know the movie wasn't received well, and owned up to his mistakes, not a lot of people would be saying that his film sucked, or called Rian Johnson a terrible director or a crybaby. He probably would be viewed as a decent director when he was making movies like Looper. But of course, he did not take criticism very well, which is funny because there's actually a video in the past where he said he would love to make a movie where it divided the fan base, where he's like, oh, some people are like, wow, that was the worst movie I ever saw, or man, that was the best movie I ever saw. So
I would be worried if everybody across the board was like, yeah, that was a good movie. It's much more exciting to me when you get, a group of people who are like coming up to you and really, really excited about it. And then there are other people who walk out literally saying it was the worst movie I've ever seen. Having those two extremes to me is the mark of the type of movie that I want.
He has been calling for division since the beginning. So we should not let this guy slide. Like, what kind of director does that? Like, I understand, like, not everyone's gonna like the same movie. I understand that, but if you're actively trying to divide people with a film, you have a problem. Because the point of a director is to have people view your film and see if people like it or not like it. Put your creativity out there instead of just saying, I'm going to make this movie and I want division. Yeah, that's a really stupid thing that he said. And yeah, not a good person. But anyway, let's move on. Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler is another Hollywood actress that people do not respect. Honestly, I don't even think many people knew who she was. Because if you look for films that she was in, when Snow White comes out, she has only been in 7 movies. So her career is still pretty early. Like, she joined Hollywood in 2021 with the movie of West Side Story, which it seems that it was a remake of an old movie. Her career was pretty much still in its infant state. So it amazes me that she managed to start Hollywood and then made people hate her immediately. Because she's been in the following films: The West Stories of the West Side Story. She's been in that. She was in Spellbound, Y2K, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, West Side Story, Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds, and Snow White. Like, her career was probably going to grow as it went on. But then, of course, she was casted as Snow White. And, of course, people were skeptical about her at first because it resembled nothing to the character, because the character has literally white in her name, and the source material of Snow White is the reason she got the name Snow White was because her skin was as white as snow. And then she made it worse because she opened her big mouth and said that the original film scared her and she found the prince quite creepy, literally disrespecting the story of Snow White, especially since this was Disney's first theatrical movie when Disney first started. So it was insulting to the hardcore Disney fans. And then she proceeds to go on about how the prince, or the person who plays the prince, could be cut from the film entirely because that's Hollywood, baby. Like, she was saying a bunch of these stupid comments that were insulting the film, which nobody liked that, and rightfully so. Like, if you don't like the role, or you were creeped out about the movie, or don't care about the movie, why are you the lead of the live action remake? Like, if you don't care about the story, you shouldn't be a part of it. Or at least you should do your research before you get the part. But nope, you did it for, obviously, Hollywood fame and being diverse. And she is just arrogant because she won't shut up about anything. She won't shut up about how the original film sucked and is outdated and creepy. She also won't shut up about politics. Like, mentioning politics in Hollywood is like bad enough already because people divide over politics like all the time. And honestly, Hollywood should just keep their gosh darn mouth shut when it comes to Hollywood politics, because no one cares what Hollywood thinks when it comes to politics. We don't care if Hollywood supports Trump or Hollywood supports Kamala Harris. We don't care. Just keep your mouth shut and make the gosh darn movie and act in it, because you are the most privileged people in existence. We don't want to hear your political beliefs. Rachel Zegler is one of these people, and it drives me insane. Like, Rachel, if you're trying to make your career last longer, you should just not say anything about this stuff, because she just ended her own career by not shutting her mouth. Which, to be fair, it doesn't seem like a lot of people liked her anyway, especially in the Hunger Games prequel, which I'm pretty sure that film flopped, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, she is not a very good person. And she originally was going to be number 1, but then somebody else took her place. Cynthia Erivo. If anyone doesn't know who this is, she was recently the Wicked Witch of the West in the recent Warner Brothers film, Wicked, which is estimated to get a part 2. Now, just for clarifications, I am not a Wicked fan. I never read the book, I never watched the play, and I certainly didn't watch this movie, because knowing nothing about the source material, I thought, oh great, another girl boss movie, which it ended up being anyway. But apparently it's accurate to the source material of Wicked, or at least the play from what I gathered. But originally, I was just going to leave the film alone, let the people who want to see Wicked watch it. But then she had to open her big mouth. Because one of the things that showed who she truly was when somebody made a fan edit of the movie poster to more represent the poster or the cover of the original story. And I'll admit, looking at the original source material cover and the movie cover edited, it kind of looks like what it's supposed to be, and it looks pretty good. But of course, she got offended by this. She claimed it was racist to do such a thing and brought up a bunch of other things that meant absolutely nothing just to troll the fan base. She is just not a very good person. If you compare her to her co-star, Ariana Grande, she is just insufferable, where Ariana is just lovable. Apparently, in the behind the scenes, Ariana got to hold the original wand from the original Wizard of Oz movie, and she enjoyed it. But Cynthia, unlike her fellow co-star, didn't care about the original source material. She only cared about making the movie in her perspective. She didn't play the Wicked Witch of the West. She played herself. And oh boy, characters that are based off of the actors or actresses themselves are very unbearable. She just comes off as this stuck-up person. I remember her also saying that she is fit for the role because of all of these great things she is, even though that's not the point of being a character. You're supposed to present why you're good for this role and suited, and acting the way that the character is feeling in the script that was written by the writers. But of course, she did not do that. Which, since I put her on the list, if there's some Wicked fans watching this, they're going to be pissed off. Sure, whatever. Go ahead. I already have enough people hating on me. I'll take more. But that's really all I have to say about her. And also, Wicked fans, it seems like part 2 is coming out in 2025, or I should say this year, so have fun with that. You get what you want, and that's all that matters. I'm personally not a Wicked fan, and that's fine. But anyway, what do you think about this list? And also, if you want to make your own list of worst Hollywood celebrities, please put it in the comments. I would love to see what your perspective is on worst Hollywood celebrities. Maybe in your list there's somebody that I missed. There were definitely a lot of people that I wanted to put on this list, but I figured that 10 was probably the best for this list anyway. But anyway, this is D to the B, signing off.